Very happy to be here today. When Luciana extended the invite, and by the way, I'm calling her Luciana, I feel like an outsider because I can't call her Lucy yet. Maybe one day. I immediately said yes. Maybe I sounded too eager. I don't know. But I'm fascinated, of course, by AI. It's a great topic of conversation. I love progressive debates. I love conversations that spark more conversation, especially since the AI story is not over yet, and these are not kind of conclusions. But I have to confess that I didn't know exactly what I was going to present. I struggled a bit with it, like what's the message that I want to convey, what I want you to get out of today. Can I even bring any value to this audience? So I think I eventually settled on this being a knowledge sharing, maybe an educational area for AI in hiring, where I can bring a perspective that kind of combines maybe three perspectives in one. So I'm currently a sales engineer for hiring software, Greenhouse Software, if you hear or if you heard of it, maybe when applying to jobs or you have friends that work in companies that use it. So I have the perspective of AI features in hiring software and how employers are using them to find new talent, what they're looking for in those AI capabilities, and sometimes the candidate's experience as well. I used to be a recruiter, so I'm leveraging my recruiter days as well from years ago. While AI wasn't as advanced as it is today, I did use AI tools as a recruiter. I have my own opinion about how that worked at that time. I think there needs to be a level of maturity of technology to be more useful than time consuming. And lastly, like all of us at certain points, I'm sure I've been a candidate. I've navigated that job search, and I wanted to make sure that I'm presenting myself in the best way through my resume and through my application. So I'm bringing all of that, I hope in a balanced view, just to educate more on kind of how AI is present in hiring, which is a more sensitive topic from an AI presence perspective than maybe the sales world is, for example. So first of all, by show of hands, how many of you in the room have used AI like ChatGPT to write emails, cover letters, resumes? Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, keep your hand up if you're happy for AI to review your resume, your application, and potentially make a decision on whether your application move forward. Fewer. Thank you, because that would have been awkward if all of you had kept your hand up. So speaking of the great word paradox, it is one of the paradoxes of kind of using AI. We're all becoming more and more comfortable using AI in our everyday lives, both personal and professional. Not always so comfortable having AI being used on us. And I think another maybe explanation or another area of this paradox is that not all AI use is created equal. It's one thing for me to enhance my resume a bit and ask ChatGPT to maybe, phrase this achievement better. Another thing for, me to be rejected automatically by an AI that has some predefined things that, they think they're looking for in their ideal candidate. So it's important to know that AI use comes on a spectrum in hiring, I'm sure, and beyond hiring. But when it comes to hiring, just to simplify it, because of course it is a spectrum, we're looking at AI in three main categories. First of all, AI as an assistant. Really automating tasks, generating innocent content, let's say, not really having any involvement in whether the candidate will progress in that application or making any hiring decision for the company. Moving further, we can see AI as an advisor. It's still not a decision maker, but it's doing more than just automating simple tasks. It's providing maybe insights, some content analysis to the decision makers. So there is some risk there that they may influence that decision in the process. And we're going to see some examples in the next slide. And moving all the way forward to AI as a decision maker. Imagine a no-touch, full AI-driven recruitment process where AI decides who proceeds in the next interview, analyzes your performance in pre-screens interviews and makes the decision all the way, let's say, to the higher level. So that's kind of the extreme that we're talking about. And that's what makes us nervous. That's what's considered high risk. And that's maybe the reason why we put our hands up earlier in terms of being comfortable AI actually having that much control over our careers. So when we're looking into the AI features and AI capabilities that employers are using through AI software, but also that applicants are using to prepare themselves for that recruitment process, I have some categories, I have some examples here. Bear with me as we're kind of navigate them a little bit just to understand, is there a line and where do we draw the line? I think that as we're going to go through this, we're actually all going to have our own individual lines that, someone crosses in using AI in hiring. And I'm very, of course, curious to hear your thoughts afterwards. But we're going to start with the low risk. Remember, these are not connected to making decisions in the recruitment process for the candidate. They're AI-generated content, like AI-generating job descriptions, AI-generated interview questions, probably what the team was doing before, just taking them way more time to source them from the industry, from the internet, and so on. That's perfectly fine. FAQ chatbots for the candidate, so being able to go on a career website and ask, what are the benefits in Ireland for this organization, and is there any interview prep, and being able to easily kind of source that for the candidates, actually enhancing the candidate experience. Some data insights, and I put some because there's one thing for AI to help the recruitment leadership understand, how's their candidate experience, are there bottlenecks in the process, what can they do to hire better and faster talent as well. Whereas a data insight that tells them that, hey, based on the content of Column's emails in the last few weeks, we don't think Column's going to accept your offer. So, maybe focus on other candidates. That sounds riskier. So it's not really in the same category. And AI-powered automation. And here I'm smiling a little bit with scheduling because I think there's a lot of not necessarily confusion, but maybe assumptions out there that a lot of the automation is perceived as AI when it's simply automation. Like scheduling is usually an automated process. There can be some AI-powered functionality on top of it as well. But again, nothing harming the candidate being hired and going through the process and the fair and consistency of the recruitment process. On the other side, on the low risk for applicants, absolutely as applicants, we want to put our resume and cover letter in ChatGPT, ask them what we can phrase better, how can I phrase this achievement, how can I make it shorter, reduce it to one page. Absolutely, it's not only expected, but it's considered smart from candidates. It's just replacing what you were doing before when you were reaching out to your recruiter friend, asking them to take a second look and just tell, how do I make my experience here sound better? Only that you have a faster answer from ChatGPT. Company research, similar, just smarter and faster rather than having to Google and compile information from news articles about that company. Just ChatGPT will give you the summary of what may be important from that company from values perspective, financial situation, and so on. And even basic interview preparation. Yeah, sure, ask ChatGPT for a few examples of what an account executive in the tech industry might be asked for you to be able to prepare some examples in the past. Similar, in the past, my friends would have come to me and asked me, what would you ask me for this job? And it's very similar. The information was out there, it just took longer to source. So that's the low risk. We're all happy, right? Like no problem. We'll still be applying to a company using that AI. We don't feel like, the decision is being made unfair by that company using some AI in their software, which I think is really important because I've heard the phrase of I don't want to apply for companies who use this tool because they use AI, so they're going to reject my application. And we see how inaccurate that is when we see the spectrum of types of AI features that can actually be utilized in recruitment. Moving on to kind of the medium risk type features that can be used by employers in their hiring software as well. We're going to see a spectrum within a spectrum, and I'm looking forward again to your insights here. So on the employer side, in the hiring software, I put in around kind of resume data extraction, right? So companies are receiving hundreds, thousands of resumes. They want to be more efficient in being able to surface the candidates that are suitable for the role. You may be that candidate or you may be not. But AI can use them, for example, to establish the skill set based on the job description that they should be looking for, the keywords that they should be looking for in their candidate's resume. It's hardly an AI decision-making process. They're just surfacing some keywords, and it's the decision of the hiring team whether they want to search those keywords in your resume. So it's still in the control of the hiring team what search they do. And it's more of a powerful search rather than anything else. But then when we move into content analysis, imagine a world where, the recruiter has all of the resumes in front of them, but only that each of them have a quick summary that explains their experience in a few phrases. This is an experienced software engineer in Java. We're having worked on large projects in large multinational companies. And the next one is, this person, is a recruiter in this company. Like, you can immediately reject that person and kind of forward the first person. And this is where the risk level can be, let's say, different, because does AI really know what to extract from that resume? How does it know to do that? And will recruiters be over-reliant on the content analysis of the AI feature? So do you want to open that resume and make sure that's not a recruiter that turned software engineer or did a lot of courses in software engineering, or you're just going to make the decision based on what AI surfaced to you? So that's where we start seeing that risk level kind of getting higher in terms of making the wrong decisions in the hiring process. And content summarization, similar to the previous one, we may have feedback that we've sent to candidates that we want AI to summarize, and it may draw its own conclusions around the tone and the sentiment analysis around that feedback. And I think that's where the danger comes from. You may have neutral feelings about a candidate you just spoke to, but AI can pick and turn that into a more positive or a more negative one. On the candidates or applicant side, use of AI in hiring, where they really want to find a job and they're really motivated and they're out there on the job market, is to prepare more, right? So on the medium risk is around mock interviews with AI feedback, similar maybe to the sales process. I have my gongs recorded. It probably gives me feedback. I don't know. I haven't looked. Maybe I should look. So thank you, Column. But there's an important note of like, okay, I'm doing those mock interviews. I'm getting that AI feedback. To what extent of applying that AI feedback, I'm still myself in an interview process, and I'm keeping kind of that authenticity of who I am as a professional and my values, knowing that that might be a detractor for certain types of employers. Also, we saw resume and cover letter enhancement, that's perfectly fine. But, putting a resume and a job description in ChatGPT and say, make my resume be a perfect fit for this job description, are we crossing a line there? I don't know. It's really up to you. It's really up to the prompt. Is the prompt saying, say whatever you need in my resume for me to be a fit for this job? Or is just saying, take my current responsibilities and achievements and just reorder them so it emphasizes my experience in customer success rather than my experience when I was technical support. And that's where the line is, maybe where you decided to be. And it's similar for employers as well. Brainstorming, maybe test results or presentation or a 30, 60, 90-day plan can be very useful in the sense of if you have your own original ideas, you're putting them in ChatGPT, you're asking for feedback, for enhancements here and there, absolutely fine. Do you want it to just create a 30, 60, 90-day plan for you that you present as being yours without adding your own original ideas? Again, where's the line? So finally, we're moving into the high-risk areas. These are kind of very clearly identified as high risk, and we're going to talk a bit about the regulations around it as well. But I want to call out the automated resume rejection. It's not a myth. It may be out there. It's not in our tool, I can tell you that. And it's AI that's simply making decisions in the recruitment process. So just simply analyzing the applications and automatically rejecting or progressing the application based on that analysis. Stack ranking applicants as well. It highly influences who makes it to that first interview, if at all, by presenting a stack rank list to the recruiter. So out of 100 applicants, we're going to progress the first 10 because we don't have bandwidth to interview 50 candidates. So we're probably taking any chance away from the rest of 80, how many did I say, to even make it to the next stage. So we're literally letting AI make those decisions for us. Last but not least, interview transcribing and suggesting decisions is more on the suggesting side as well. We know we want to make it easier for our interviewers. Do we want to put the decision in their hands with AI? Because that's when we take the power from them, especially when they don't have a vested interest to make the correct hire, or it could be a cross-functional interview, for example. On the candidate side of high-risk usage of AI as well, and what's happening on the market is candidates using AI to complete fully automated applications to hundreds of jobs daily, with applications created from scratch by AI to match those particular jobs. They're basically fake applications. We've also heard about real-time interview assistance as well. There's quite a few tools on the market that allow for that, so allow for listening to the interview question in real time, generating the answer, and then the candidates feed that answer back into the interview. And last but not least is being able to misrepresent skills in tests or interviews. Some of them have plagiarism checks, some of them don't. So it's, again, the misrepresentation of skills and abilities in the recruitment process. So pretty heavy stuff, I'd say. But I think what's important to know, and what I want you to know for you, for your friends, and for your families that are in a job search, that companies can just use any AI tools they want in the hiring process, and that you are protected by regulations. It's probably the first, or one of the first areas that was determined as high risk. So the EU AI Act has considered hiring tools as being high risks in using AI, so the employers are actually forced to ensure human oversight and human decision when it comes to hiring and employment rights and employment equity as well. The New York bias law, I know it's not relevant for us here, but it was probably one that pioneered the regulations around AI, whereby if a company is using what they call an AEDT, so an automatic employment decision tool, they're subjecting themselves to a lot of audits and regulations to show that the recruitment process was still fair and equitable, and that they didn't deny work to people unrightfully. And last but not least, from a security and development perspective, there's a new ISO released, ISO 42001, which, while is not a required standard, it is one that will differentiate the hiring softwares that want to develop AI ethically, and they're committed to that, both from a moral perspective, but also from a data privacy concern perspective as well. So there's a lot of work there, and companies don't just have the free hand to use AI in the recruitment process in any way they want. Now, on the applicant side, while there's no regulation stopping candidates to apply any of these measures in the recruitment process, there are consequences. So first of all, if you apply those or use those AI capabilities to get a job, and of course you get that job, and then your employer finds out that you actually don't have the skills required for that particular job, there's background checks in process as well. You can absolutely be immediately terminated for that. There's furthermore, companies are investing in AI detection software. I'm being asked, maybe not by every prospective customer that I'm meeting, but by half of them, we are being asked about AI detection software that detects resumes and cover letters that were generated by tools like ChatGPT, and of course in a live video interview process as well, based on the analysis of the candidate's movement to detect whether they're utilizing a tool, which again, you'll see we're in a loop with the features that can actually be used in a hiring software. And last but not least is just the long-term reputation damage of trying something like that, not losing only one job opportunity, but being blacklisted by a company, by a recruiter, and kind of creating that reputation in the industry. So that was a lot. Appreciate you kind of being with me kind of throughout the journey. I think what's important to note is that AI is here to stay, right? And I think there's a challenge, especially in the hiring process, which can be a very important process for both people who need a job, need a pay, and they're looking for job search, they're looking for career development, and for those companies that need the right talent to continue building their revenue, to challenge themselves. On the one side, the challenge to us as applicants is to understand, okay, we're going to use AI as a crutch to build our resume, build our cover letter, maybe even generate those questions in the interview. Are we happy to take a job that we're actually not qualified for, struggle, have a, imposter syndrome times 100, and then potentially ruin our reputation just because we didn't invest more time and be true to ourselves and who we are kind of authentically? then the challenge to companies is similar. Yep, sure, have a fully AI-driven recruitment process, no touch, have AI kind of progress the candidates that it thinks they're suitable and reject the other ones. Are you prepared to pay the cost of losing great, amazing talent just because they didn't use the right keywords and the right combination on their cover letter and resume? If you're willing to pay that price, sure. And I think the only choice for all of us is to make sure that we're using AI responsibly. There's so much, let's say, weight on the world responsibly. We were talking earlier about how much energy AI is using and how we're using it so loosely and we're without thinking about those kind of consequences. So the responsibility that I'm talking about is just a small bit of what we can do with this technology. And last question, Colin made the same thing, but that's okay. I'll still ask you the question. Did I use AI to help me with this presentation? Show of hands. Absolutely, I did. Can I still tell truthfully that these were my ideas that I want to share with you and this is my content and the message that I wanted to convey today? Absolutely, I do. Thanks very much.